Peter Godfrey.
And another hour begins. It is 14 degrees at the moment. 9 minutes past 5. Morning's flying by. Let's jump across the ditch. Catch up with Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz. Selwyn, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Peter.
How's things over your side of the ditch?
Yeah, not too bad. I heard your temperatures being announced just before, and we're nowhere near that. You know, I think you were saying, or your station was saying a high of 27 degrees in Adelaide.
Today, yes.
Yeah, we're very lucky if we make 20 at the moment. You can get a sense when we get a bit of a dry spell that summer sun is coming.
Yeah.
But we've had some very cold weather patterns going across. I noticed last week that Sydney, for example, had some major storms.
They did, yeah.
Snow in the Blue Mountains. Well, we haven't had those extremes over here, but we've certainly had colder than what you would expect temperatures.
Isn't that interesting?
So we'll probably hit about, give a perspective, around about 18 to 19 degrees in Auckland, which is the more warm end of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and in comparison, you wouldn't have heard our temperature on Tuesday. We hit 37.3 on Tuesday.
Oh, Peter.
Our hottest, our hottest October day since 2006. And we also broke a record. It was the first time we've had 4 consecutive October days above 32 degrees. So
I can imagine all the ice being, party ice that is, and things like that. The sails must be up and the air conditionings will be right at full bore, and the eskies will be out. And
yes, the eskies. Or the chili bins, don't you call them chili bins over there?
We do, chili bins.
Chili bins, yeah. We were talking about different terms used sort of around the country, and somebody actually brought up some of the terms you use. The chili bin.
Chili bin for the, yeah.
Or what we refer to as thongs, and we're not talking the brief underwear here, what we put on our feet, but what do you call them? Jandals?
Jandals. Now, when Jandals hit New Zealand, obviously years and years and years ago, the people that kind of marketed that, or some would say invented it, took a part of, the shoe, that slip-on type shoe that would come from Japan.
Right, yeah.
And also the sandal, and put it together and called it the jandal. And if I'm right, and I'm only relying on memory here, so, I may be pointed in a more correct direction, but if I remember right, a significant politician here in New Zealand, her family, I think by her father's line, actually were the ones that handled all of that here. That was Lila Hari, and she was most prominent most recently as being the leader of the Internet Party for the last election. So I think that's accurate, I think.
Okay.
Pretty sure. On a scale of probabilities, Peter, I'd say it was a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
But gives you a bit of wiggle room. The other thing, is like your holiday home at the beach and things like that. Yeah. Up in the north of New Zealand, and most of New Zealand would call it the batch, B-A-C-H.
The batch,
Yeah, batch. So, someone say, we've got a family batch and we're off there for a holiday. That's what they're talking about. Right down the bottom of the South Island, in particular, they call it a crib.
A crib? Okay.
So there's a little bit of variations there. But if you Aussies were over here and you said to someone, have you got your thongs on? you might get a blank look back, because over here that commonly refers to the G-string.
The G-string, yes. Well, I learnt tonight, apparently in New South Wales, it's often referred to as the G-string, but and the thongs that we refer to on our feet, they refer to as flip-flops.
Flip-flops. Yeah, well, you hear that from America, don't you? Or in the United States, in particular, flip-flop.
Yeah.
So there's also, in some ways, growing up in New Zealand would be very similar to growing up in South Australia or Australia in general. That when we see programs coming in from the United States and England and all of that type of thing, we have this inbuilt filter that's translating into our lingo, if you like, all the way through. So between the two countries across the Tasman, it's not so bad, but sometimes, you can kind of think, what on earth are they going on about? And certainly when you go to the United States, they look at you blankly, not just because of your accent, they don't know where to locate you, but, with what you're trying to say, you can see that just thinking, oh my goodness, it is English, but it's not the kind of English we speak.
Indeed. It's a funny old world, isn't it? Hey, we better get on to some big topics from your part of the world.
Yes.
New Zealand has been successful in its campaign to become a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council.
Yes, that's right. It'll take up that position, Peter, in January 2015.
Yep.
Right from the beginning of the new year. This campaign is obviously seen as significant to New Zealand. It's been over a decade, or about 15 years or so, back in the 1990s anyway, since New Zealand last sat on the Security Council at the United Nations. This campaign, the initial one here, that's been successful, it began back in early 2008 when Helen Clark was the Labour-led government. She was the Prime Minister in New Zealand back then. The incoming National-led government in 2008, at the end of 2008, it picked up that campaign and it committed to it, put a lot of resources and money toward it. And last week, the United Nations General Assembly voted in New Zealand's favour to include it there. Now, the diplomats, government ministers, the ambassadors, etc., they all received bipartisan support from right across the parliament, really, but significantly from the Labour Party here, and even to the point where in the last month, immediately after the elections here in New Zealand in late September, the former Labour Party leader, David Shearer, who has extensive credentials with the United Nations, as being, most of his working life, he's been there and very well regarded in the United Nations apparatus. Well, he spent considerable time in New York over and lobbying at the General Assembly leaders and others for New Zealand to be considered strongly for this role. Its message to the other countries, Peter, was quite clear, really. It said the New Zealand government, national-led government here, was pushing the envelope on this one, and it was New Zealand would commit to being a voice on the Security Council for other smaller states globally, and pushed its reputation as what New Zealanders would like to think endures as an honest broker for human rights. Its independence underscored by its anti-nuclear laws.
Yeah.
It used that as an example of that, and also its approach to global security being one that is not out of step with the consensus-building approach to how the United Nations Security Council should approach certain problems around the globe. But all of that is great, and that sits well with Kiwis generally, and I think it's been well celebrated on this side of the ditch, and acknowledging too that Australia most recently has been a non-permanent member of the Security Council as well, on similar ground. But the New Zealand national-led government, of course, has it been true to this national identity in recent years? And this is something that is a question that some of us are starting to churn through. What does this mean? Does this mean that the John Key-led government is going to commit, as previous governments did, to really pushing human rights for human rights' sake on the basis of wrongs put to people or the environment? And there are concerns there that came through numerous times over the last 6 years, but most particularly last year in 2013, when the Commonwealth Heads of Government was held in Sri Lanka, and there was major outspoken views amongst the Western nations in particular on the Sri Lankan government, the state of Sri Lanka's handling and ongoing approach to alleged atrocities against the Tamil populations in the north of Sri Lanka. And the Canadians didn't even go to Chogam on the basis of this. They pulled back and refused. United Kingdom's Prime Minister David Cameron was in Sri Lanka, but an outspoken critic. New Zealand Green Party MP Jan Logie was over there, and she was outspoken, and she was placed, basically, if you put it in simple terms, under house arrest to shut her up. But New Zealand's Prime Minister John Key and its Foreign Minister Murray McCully, well, in the latter case here, Murray McCully, the Foreign Minister, went up to the Tamil region and came back saying they've moved on, and I think New Zealand and others in the international community should too. That what he was doing was stopping and slowing down the call for an independent international inquiry into alleged war crimes against humanity. And so that sticks in a lot of people's minds as to whether or not the national-led government here in New Zealand is being honest and true to the human rights issues here.
Okay.
For their efforts, for their efforts, Peter, in supporting the Sri Lankan government's current position. They were given an elephant. John Key was given an elephant as a gift And where that elephant is telling you must be scratching your head, an elephant. Where the elephants turned up, who knows? But he was given an elephant as a gift for his support for Sri Lanka Road.
Reminds me of an episode of The Simpsons where Bart Simpson won an elephant on a radio calling competition.
Did he? Well, John Key, it's the elephant in the room on this one. A pinch of cliche, but you won't get him.
Elephants follow him.
And why you got the elephant.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Well, on John Key, of course, since we last spoke, you've had prior to, then you've had your election. I guess since we last spoke, he started to settle in. We've just got to have a quick break, but it'd be interesting to hear how he has settled in over recent weeks. Just a quick break and we'll be back with you, Selwyn. Selwyn Manning's with us from in Auckland, from livenews.co.nz. It's 5:19.
There are 1,000 questions you need to ask before buying a home. But the first one, is it Quattro built? If it is, you've made a smart decision. Buy off the plan with us and your home comes with all the trimmings. No surprises. Plus, you'll be close to the city, so you can suck up the vibe every day. And with Quattro's Q1000 system, your other 999 questions are answered. Explore Quattro at q1000.com.au.
If you want to get loads more out of your pool, take a blanket approach with Walco. A Walco solar blanket keeps your pool warmer, so you swim sooner. Your water doesn't evaporate, so you save dollars. And 'cause Walco is right here in Adelaide, you don't pay extra for freight, and it's locally made, superior quality. Take a blanket approach with Walco and get more out of summer. Order now and have it in just a couple of days. Walco.com.au.
Don't get caught in the heat wave. Energy Australia's home services can have a cooling system installed in your home within just 7 days, well before you feel the heat of the summer months. And with fully installed split systems starting from a low $1,299 and payment plans available, it's easy to keep your cool over your budget too. Terms and conditions apply. Call Energy Australia now for a new cooling system before the heat wave hits on 133 349 or visit energyaustralia.com.au. OCBA licence number BLD 262323.
From only $9.95, try Barnacle Bill's scrumptious snack pack range, including butterfish, calamari, prawns and chicken, all served with our original tartare sauce and chips. Everyone loves Barnacle Bill, and it's easy to see why. Everything is freshly prepared. Enjoy our famous orange snack pack box, packed with quality seafood and chicken for over 40 years from only $9.95. For lunch or dinner, it's gotta be Barnacle Bill.
Fresh from the sea, it's gotta be Barnacle Bill.
Wherever you choose to travel next, travel in style with an Insight Vacations luxury escorted journey. Talk to Phil Hoffman Travel about the ultimate holiday today. There are 113 unique itineraries, including 14 new tours, all promising smaller groups, premium central hotels and luxury coach transport with business class legroom. 2015 prices are up to 10% lower than 2014. Plus book now and save a further 10%. So call Phil Hoffman Travel or visit pht.com.au.
You Install It Kitchens. What's in it for you this month? Well, if you've been thinking of a new DIY kitchen, this is what you've been waiting for all year. 20% off all thermo cabinets, including gloss. A quality Farquhar kitchen for your family this Christmas? It can be done with 20% off all thermo cabinets. You Install It Kitchens, the complete DIY kitchen solution. Norwood, Lonsdale and Glandore. Some conditions apply. youinstallitKitchens.com.au.
The Care Alert Smart Dialer now protects over 70,000 people and is loved by everyone. Should you have an accident or suddenly become ill while alone at home or at work, just press the pendant and the Care Alert Smart Dialer will contact up to 5 persons of your choice, notifying them that you need help. Even 000 can be called. It's under $300 delivered and no monitoring fees ever. How brilliant is that? Go to carealert.com.au or call 1300 75 85 95.
Talking Adelaide with Peter Godfrey on 1395 5AA.
And we're taking a look at what's happening across the ditch in New Zealand. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz is with us. Now, Selwyn, your election a little while ago, John Key returned, a surprise for many. The new Parliament sat for the first time this week.
Yes, it did, Peter. Yep, that's right. First time since September 20th, when the new government was voted in, and that, of course, was John Key from a minority position in the first week after the election, before the special votes came back it was John Key was able to demonstrate that he had a clear majority in the House. But when the specials came back, there was quite a swing against the Nationals. And those specials are, all the Kiwis and those who can vote that are living in Australia and other countries all over the world, having their, ticking their voting papers. And it takes a good week or so for those to be accurately all collated and put together. Now, so significantly, those Kiwis and those who were voting in the New Zealand elections living outside of New Zealand voted against the National-led government here, and it caused National to lose one particular MP and lose that clear majority in the House. So it pulled together a minority government, just like we had last time with the same players, United Future, the Māori Party, and one MP from the ACT Party, with all the other National Party MPs. So it was still a decisive win, a very, very big win for National, considering the dirty politics allegations and culture that it was caught out with during the early part of the election campaign. But this week, Peter, the Governor-General's speech from the throne, you can imagine just in Australia it's the same way. The Governor-General kind of struts in, sits there, and stands up at the end of it.
Pomp and ceremony.
Pomp and ceremony, is our shot at trying to look like Britain, I guess.
Yeah.
Away it goes. Now, he laid out, the Governor-General laid out the plans for this new government over the next 3 years, what it plans to deliver. The National-led minority government has indicated a wish to address poverty. So that's something that has sunk into it during the election campaign, that the poverty that was being talked about from the communities right through academics, other politicians, that it was true. It wasn't just politics being played here. And that seemed to have dawned on John Key, and he gave a commitment on election night and certainly in the week after that his government in this term, the next 3 years, will move to seriously address that. So he's put himself on the line on that one, and it looks like he's very, very committed to addressing poverty. Now, I guess what will be watched very clearly is how he intends to do that, and also the other thing is the tenure of the theme of the speech from the Governor-General was one where this new government will commit to a more fairer society. So very general and generic kind of statements in that latter part, and it's seen very much that the National-led government is trying to win back favour from the bulk of New Zealanders, not just those that voted for it in the last election, Peter.
Okay. Is it being seen as, a bit of lip service? He's got to actually do something? Is that kind of the reaction?
Yeah, it is. Remember that during the election campaign, this dirty politics stuff was rising all the time in all different forms, and what was under scrutiny constantly right through the campaign was the truthfulness and honourability, not just of the Prime Minister, but other ministers themselves. The Justice Minister of New Zealand, the Minister of Justice, basically standing down from her position, her ministerial position, under the weight of allegations that are being inquired into right now. And that's, despite all of that, the Nationals won government back. But it's if I was looking, and trying to give an indication of what it is like at the moment, the Nationals are like they're acting like chastised bullies in a way that, in this way, it's like it's been caught out misusing its considerable power, particularly in the last 3 years, and is now trying to convince the country in itself that it's exercised those bad eggs within it. And it might just be that the reality of it being exposed for years of dirty politics and cyberbullying here, often orchestrated from the shadows, Peter, didn't just horrify the Kiwis who, like to share, just like Australians, a sense of fairness in their politics and their lives, but also that National Party members themselves, those honourable people inside the party, were horrified at what the party and the leader was doing in its own name. Now, a lot of the allegations have yet to be proven, but the allegations remain, and they have not been denied to the point that would satisfy people here in this country. They have not apologised either. And in the House yesterday, Peter, questions were put for the first time to the Prime Minister in the Parliament about how many times had he personally telephoned the attack blogger that the National Party was using, that's notorious over in the side of the ditch, a man called Cameron Slater, who runs the whale oil site. And the Prime Minister, he was tricky about this, and he said, I have never phoned Cameron Slater in the capacity of being Prime Minister. So he was asked, had you phoned him in the capacity of being the leader of the National Party? And he kind of indicated that that's probably closer to what he'd been doing. And he'd already admitted publicly that he'd regularly telephoned Cameron Slater with. Now you see what I mean? Those kind of escaping from trying to escape from this. It's this slippery John is what the general public would see that as. So we're back to square one on this one, I think, Peter.
Interesting times indeed. All right, Selwyn, thank you for joining us. Hey, just one other thing before we go. Yet another connection, Adelaide and Auckland. We've got the Rolling Stones in Adelaide at the moment with their huge big stadium set up, which once it leaves here, it's off to you guys, I think. I think yours is the next port of call for the big stadium, the outdoor stadium. I think that's the case.
I'll have to catch up. We'll talk about that, shall we? I'll have to catch up with that and get some really good details from it. I'm just not sure whether or not it's right now.
Okay, because I thought, we got the tour starting, because we got them performing Saturday night here in Adelaide. Yeah. And I did read something that said that, because ours is the only venue where they're doing the full outdoor stadium show, and they're smaller shows for the rest of the country, but the stadium itself, once we finish with it Saturday night, they'll pull it apart and head it your way whilst the guys finish the smaller tour around the country, and then...
Maybe might be the only person in New Zealand that has missed the marketing of this, but they pulled out of the New Zealand part when Mick Jagger suffered that loss. The last one, and the big ticket that's coming up here in New Zealand is Elton John coming up next. Right. But I'll tell you, Peter, it might be that I'm completely been in the dark in the last 2 weeks, not being on radio and not being around media circles. Maybe I've put my head in a area where no information.
Okay, well, our paper had the Adelaide leg of the tour is the only outdoor arena show. We'll take crews a week to set up and pack down, and from there the stage will head straight to Auckland. So,
it'll be the first thing we talk about next week.
It will indeed. I'm looking forward. I can't wait. I'll be there. All right, Selwyn.
Good on you.
Thanks, Selwyn. We'll talk to you next week. All the best. Selwyn Manning from in New Zealand, livenews.co.nz for more. And Stone coming right up with our news. It's 5:30.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 27 today. It's 5:31. I'm Anne Stone. Canada's Parliament in the capital, Ottawa, remains in lockdown after gunmen stormed the building, firing dozens of shots. A soldier was shot at a nearby war memorial before the men ran into Parliament, and the soldier has since died in hospital. At least 30 shots were reportedly fired while MPs prepared to hold party room meetings. And Liberal MP John Mackay says they didn't realise what was happening at first.
I was just taking off my jacket to go into caucus. I hear this pop, pop, pop. Possibly 10 shots, don't really know. Thought it was dynamite or construction rather than anything else. Suddenly the security guards come rushing down the hallways, usher us all out to the back of the Parliament buildings.
One of the gunmen was shot dead, but police are still searching for up to 3 others. MPs and their staff remain locked in their offices, while Prime Minister Stephen Harper has been evacuated, and Ottawa's Police Chief Charles Bordelot says the operation is ongoing.
All available resources have been deployed to this ongoing police operation. Our priority is the safety and security of our community. Additional resources are on standby should they be required, and all measures have been taken to ensure the safety and security of our residents.
3 people have died during a shooting in northern Victoria last night that led to a 4-hour police standoff. As Ron Burke reports, a man has been arrested.
Police went to a property just